Good day, everybody. Welcome. We're glad that you're here. You're here with our leadership and series of who are our leaders? Who is it that we see in the world today? Tonight we got a very wonderful guest who many of the people in St. Paul's will know and remember when she was like yay high. She grew up in this church, and she's going to talk a little bit about what's it like to be a respiratory therapist dealing with people that have COVID-19 and share some of her stories of what's going on and so forth. So it's really going to be great to have her here. But we're glad that you're here. We hope this podcast, video, whatever you want to call it, can give you a little bit of light to get through the day. We're trying to do this together, never alone. We're always stronger together. So let's work on this. Jim, we're going to start with the first Psalm. You know, there's like in the book of Psalms is separated into 3 separate books, and this is the first book, 1 through 41, but we're just going to start on the very first Psalm. This might be one that many of us had to memorize in Sunday school. It's a very famous one. And why don't you read verses 1 through 3, and I'll pick up from there.
Okay. Happy are those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, or take the path that sinners tread, or sit in the seat of scoffers, but their delight in the law of the Lord, and on his law they meditate day and night. They are like trees planted by streams of water, which yield their fruit in its season, and their leaves do not wither, and in all that they do, they prosper.
The wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. This is the very first psalm, and you know, when you read ancient literature, you always want to read the very beginning and the very ending. Next week we're going to do the last psalm, but usually those pieces of the reading tell you everything else that's in the middle. The rest is fluff. So what is this trying to say to us? What jumps out at you?
Well, the first part, with the first psalm and things, you know, his first line, happy are those who do not follow the advice of the wicked. He made right off the bat, he's telling you what the psalms are going to be about. And he is saying, you know, if you follow people that lead you astray, if you don't follow the law, you're going to be stuck in the mud. And it's, you know, and then he goes back, and then he says then on 3, but if you follow God, then you're like the tree that produces the fruit, the grain that grows,
streams of water.
And your leaves don't wither, and you're going to prosper. And if you follow God, you will prosper. And
well, you know, I always want to be careful because there's that prosperity gospel out there that says, well, if you just believe this, or if you pray, or if you send in $5, you too will be. And that's not the prosperity gospel we're talking about. But we're talking about being prosperous with God and being righteous. There's something different there.
that's what people interpret it as, well, I believe in God. I'm going to win the lottery, the biggie.
And not everybody can win the lottery.
No, and I didn't buy a ticket, and I still didn't win.
Oh,
But I mean, that's the problem. People think the prosper is financial, but God's not talking about money. He's talking about
the whole
our life
person, your
in
whole
heaven,
being.
and how we treat others, and how we react to others, and love one another. That's what he's trying to explain. It has nothing to do with wealth or money.
Well, and isn't it interesting, even back then, there were the wicked and there were the righteous. And the basic question that religion of all type deals with is, why do bad things happen to
Good people.
And here it is, that why are there the wicked? Why are there the righteous? And how do we prosper?
And even if you say, well, gee, I follow God, I do this, I go to church, I do everything. Why is bad things happening to me? It's happening. It's always been around. But you prosper in the Lord. You believe in that it's going to be okay. He's going to take care of it, and don't worry about it.
Well, and there's that sense of we trust in God's grace not in the righteousness of others or as others may define it. So we have a different way of looking at righteousness as people of faith. And this begins dealing with it right from the beginning. But then I love how they deal with the time with the righteous, and then it says the wicked are not so. They are like chaff that the wind drives away. Now, how many of our city kids would know what chaff is?
Yes, you never go up on a farm about one of the wheat, and they had what's crushed, get the wheat heads off, and what's left. Bye. And you don't want to get that stuff on you.
What happens when you get chaff on you?
You better take a shower. It just itches and dries it, and it drives you nuts.
Really?
And if you take a shower, it doesn't want to go away.
Now, wait a minute. I did not know this about you. So, growing up in Maumee, you were around the farm and everything?
My folks on my mom's side grew up at Upper Sandusky on a farm that is still held in the family.
Really?
And it was about 1865 they came over.
Okay.
And so Mom would think it was a great idea as a summer vacation. She would send us to the farm. All the boys would have to go down to the farm for a few weeks.
And what did you do?
Oh, I loved it. They had like 12 to 13 kids in the family. We had football team. We loved it. Except my sisters, I couldn't figure out. Now Mariana was like this one because she's having granddaughters. They went and stayed with Grandma Royans. And they went to the movies and shopping. They never did any work. We were out helping Uncle Bud and Uncle Woody and learning all this stuff, and I really loved it.
We had this all planned before this whole event here, and now you're telling me about the family farm. How did we go from Psalm 1 to the...
We went to more chaff, and
okay.
they raised wheat and corn and everything. And,
so you knew what chaff was, how it separates the kernel of the wheat and so forth, and it flies away and it itches, and nothing good can
If you
come
really
out
want
of
to
it.
watch it, go behind the combine.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah,
Have fun.
I think I'll pass on that. I think my car was behind one of those one day, and it got new dust on it that still hasn't come off. So the wicked are not those that always stand in the congregation of the righteous. And somehow the wicked, I love how it just ends, the wicked will perish. It doesn't spend a lot of time on that, but it just states something very simply.
But it's right to the right. Hit the nail on the head. If you're going to be wicked, you will perish.
Well, and this is a great one to teach our youngsters, and a great one to memorize, and to remember the law of the Lord and to stay strong in it. So how do we study the law of the Lord? We're going to be talking about that later on tonight after our guest. We've got our... when does Lent start? The 16th, right? Or 17th? The 17th. I'm glad you've got the dates down. So Ash Wednesday is on the 17th, and we're going to be doing a study group every Wednesday night. And then when we're done with the study group, if you would like, you can join us on Zoom. I'm even going to try to make Zoom happen. At the same time, we're on YouTube here. We've done it for our annual meeting. I think we can do it for our discussion. So we make it interactive, and you can participate in a really unique and fun way. But Jim, if you and I start going over this book that we're sending out, Becoming Closer to God, what's the name of it again?
What is it? I don't.
You're handing it out.
I'm handing out.
Yeah, going back to God.
I can read God. That's all I can read.
Back to God. Okay.
Returning to God, and we're going to be studying about what are some of the basics of Christianity. And if you and I talk about it, what's the problem here?
The problem is that we study it a lot.
Well, we study a lot, but more than that, we've got the men's perspective. How are we going to get the women's perspective in it?
Why?
Why? Because
the Bible was written by men.
Jim. I grew up in a seminary where women were greatly valued, and the church
I'm
is
not saying
always
they're not
valued.
valued. I'm just saying we talk about it, and we talk about it from a man's point of view.
Well, listen, we're going to get to talk about it from a woman's point of view, too, because I've asked if our own Molly Spittler will join us on these discussions so that she can bring up the woman's perspective and keep us honest, so to speak, and help us see things in a different way. You're going to learn so much, Jim.
To be honest with you, I would love to sit, and Molly is going to be an excellent teacher because she tells it the way it is. And Molly is great.
Molly has that desire to learn and to grow. And more than that, she absorbs it. She's like a sponge, and she can ask the questions and help set up our questions. And more importantly, we'll make sure that we got that balance that we don't have with just you and I.
Because we do see one side.
You know,
We gotta see all
So
sides.
let's be honest and say, yes, we as men tend to do that.
Yes.
So
And
That's
I
important.
don't think you could pick a better person than Molly.
I agree
I
with you
know she-
100%. So anyways, I want you to be looking on Facebook in terms of how we're going to be doing this. There's more information. We're still getting it all planned. But it looks like we've got the technology. We're going to make some interesting things happen. And we really want to participate with you wherever you are at home and do it live. And if nothing else, you can watch the, maybe it's like they'll watch the fire burn down or the fire on the building and see how we do. No, it'll be good.
If we get struck by fire and brimstone, I'm leaving.
All right. No, we're not getting struck by brimstone. We don't have that kind of God. Hey, what we do have is that we have a community filled with great leaders. And so tonight our leader is going to be Laura Giffords, or I've always known her by another name, but Laura, would you come on down?
Come on.
Laura is somebody that has grown up in this church. Some of you may have been her Sunday school teacher. She and her mom have been very involved. Her mom has given some of the most wonderful artwork that we have here in this church that we still display to this day. And let's find out what she does. And, yeah.
He's got those funny looking socks. Now look at
Now,
you.
wait a minute.
I mean, look at.
I like my socks.
Little mudlocks. How far did you chase them to get them? I'm sorry.
She did
She
not
knows
chase
me.
me about, yes.
So beautiful.
They're wonderful boots. So welcome, we're so glad that you're here tonight. We just wanted to have some time to talk about what is it that you do at University of Michigan as a respiratory therapist. Give us a sense of what your job entails, and you're really on the front line of healthcare. And I don't know if people understand it unless they had to be in that ICU room.
Right, well, there's ICU, there's general care, there's in between. We take care of oxygen therapy, breathing treatments, ventilators. There's lots of different kinds of oxygen therapy. There's ventilators where the breathing tube is in. There's other kind of ventilator stuff where there's a mask on. None of it's real comfortable, but we do the best we can.
So if I were to be in a hospital and I needed my CPAP, would you be the ones that would help bring that out, or
Yeah,
you would be
Yeah.
responsible for that or something? Okay.
yeah, we check on it. So if somebody's in the hospital with a CPAP machine,
Make sure they have it and check their oxygen
check,
levels.
yeah, we check during the day to make sure there's no issues. Usually people don't wear it during the day.
Right.
And then there's a therapist that checks on every 4 hours a night.
Cool. Wonderful. So your whole world was upended, like all of ours, last February and March.
Yes.
What was this, and what is this like to work in a COVID environment at the U of M hospital?
Well, it was probably the busiest time I've ever had at the hospital, working there. I worked 48 to 52 hours a week for 2.5 months
Wow.
during the worst of it.
Now that was in like when, March, April?
Yeah.
And you guys didn't really understand a lot about the disease like we do now, or what was that like?
Right.
How scary was that?
Well, for some people, it wasn't as scary in the beginning because I don't think any of us all really understood what the reality of it is. And the
Right.
reality of it is that it can be not very much for one person, but the next person, it can kill.
Now, there's many rumors, I want to go through some of the rumors. This happens only to older people or in the nursing homes. Did you see just mostly old people, or what
No.
was this like?
No, we saw a lot of people, we saw some older people, but we saw a lot of young people. A lot of young people that have a hard time with it, a lot of young people that didn't make it.
Now, you're talking like people in their 20s or 30s, or teenagers even, or?
Mostly, probably the youngest I saw was in his 30s.
So 30s, 40s, and 50s are still able to get this virus and have really bad effects.
Yes, it definitely can. It can even happen to some younger people, mostly people who already have lung problems.
Right.
If you have lung problems, if you have heart problems,
You're susceptible to it and you're more likely to get it. Is that
you're
correct?
more likely to get it. You're more like, not only are you more likely to get it, but you're more likely to get the nasty version of it. The version that's gonna make you really, really sick.
Now, the other thing that I heard was that people would get sick and they could just change on a dime or be so quickly very, very life-threatening sick.
Yes.
Is that still the case? I mean, how do you monitor that? What do you do?
Well, the first time around, we probably had, close to, well, I think, if we were at 200 or over 200 people in the hospital system.
Wow.
And at that point in time, the first time around, they had to make, they had all the regular ICUs that were busy, plus we took a step-down ICU and made that whole unit into an ICU. Plus they took another 30-bed unit and made that into an ICU.
So you had to adapt the entire building
The entire
to
hospital.
care, the whole hospital, for these patients that were so sick.
Right. We actually, at one point in time, were getting ready to turn the football field in the stadium into like a MASH type
Hospital
hospital
setting.
setting
Wow.
for patients who were not quite as bad but still had COVID.
Now, we're far enough away, so we don't always wear the masks when we're up here, but we wear masks otherwise. What do you say to people that go, well, I don't have to wear any masks, or I'm healthy, and I'm thin, I'm not diabetic, I'm all these things, I think I'm going to be okay. How do you answer that, or what do you, I mean, what does it do
We've
when...
still seen people that had nothing prior, they've never been sick before, and then all of a sudden, they're one of the people who died.
Okay.
We had some mystery patients that we just didn't understand why they were so sick.
Okay.
And how, and the hard part about COVID is, and I think one of the main reasons that people die is that you feel sick, they can feel sick and feel bad, but then a lot of times with the COVID, when things go bad, it goes bad really fast.
It just like takes you like a light bulb or like a switch or something, just really fast, I'm told.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does happen really fast.
So I just got my first vaccine today. Does that mean that I don't have to wear a mask then, or that I'm not going to have to worry about catching COVID?
No, it does not. I've had my second shot, and it still means that one of the big things it means is that you can still catch it. If you do have it, it's likely going to be not as bad as if you haven't had the shot, but it still means that you can still pass it on to other people, even if you've had the shot.
We've had a member of our Synod office get it. She's in her 40s, very healthy gal. And she just said she lost all taste, and it was so unnerving not to be able to taste salt or food or anything.
Right. I have had friends that have had COVID, and they said they tried, in fact, the one guy said he tried ghost peppers
Really?
and couldn't taste anything.
He took those really hot peppers and ate some, and it didn't bother him a bit.
It didn't bother him, but he couldn't taste them.
Wow.
I know, I heard this, these symptoms back on the news, she says that she still has a hard time, it's been 8 months, and she can't walk up, so these, it's not only the COVID itself, but then it's, a lot of people have the after effects that can last for a year or longer, we don't know yet, right?
Well, they're actually, they did a study. I'm trying to remember, they did a study very, very early on when COVID started to follow up with patients and see how long they were sick, how long they had lasting effects. And one of the huge effects is the pulmonary.
Now, by pulmonary, you mean heart, for those of us who aren't medical, what do you mean?
Well, pulmonary lungs.
Lungs, okay.
Yep, for the lungs.
So the lungs continue to be affected by it.
Correct. And they were saying that they have found a year later, there are still people who are still affected by it.
Wow.
They're
They're
saying-
calling them long haulers, I understand. I've been reading some literature.
They're long haulers, they're calling it long COVID.
Long COVID also, okay.
Long COVID. Another was, I'm trying to remember the term, it was a long COVID syndrome, and they're calling it a syndrome.
Okay. What else should we be aware of? Is there something else that I'm not thinking about that you wish we knew? As somebody that's on the front lines that works with these folks?
Wear your masks out there. I mean, that's huge. Because you never know when somebody's gonna cough or sneeze or something on somebody. And
What about double masking? That's something that they haven't resolved yet, it seems like, with the Center for Disease Control yet. But what's your feeling about double masking? Is that something that's good to do? Or if you don't know, that's fine too.
yeah, I'm not really super sure about that. I do know that when I go into a COVID patient's room, I
What
put
do you have to do?
a plastic gown. I have on my glasses, and it's not these glasses, but I have something on the sides of both my glasses that I wear. We have to wear those now with all patient contact.
Okay.
I wear bigger glasses at work so I have that better protection. But I wear an N95 mask, and then I wear an entire face shield over top of the mask.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question, you don't have to answer if you don't, I know. First off, I want to thank you for coming, thank you for filling us in, and you are the ones that have to do the oxygen. I know it must be very hard when you have a patient and the oxygen's not working, they're struggling to breathe even with the oxygen, and then the doctors come in and you can probably tell by the look what they're gonna have to do. Like Catherine said, this is nothing's working. You have to take the ventilator off. That must be one of the hardest things. I could not picture it. And to me, that must be so hard that we'll maybe we leave it on for another day, everything will be okay.
Well, there's actually stuff past just regular ventilators. We also have what's called ECMO, which is like a heart-lung machine. It's kind of like the ones they use in the ORs, but it's more long-term.
Okay.
It's extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, and we can take over for the lungs or the lungs and the heart
Wow.
in order to let them
Rest and heal.
rest and heal. During the first time, we had quite a few of the ECMO patients, and more of those, even though there were more of them last time, a higher percentage of those patients survived. I think for the second round of COVID, I think there's only been one survivor that went on the ECMO.
Wow.
So it's very serious. It's very serious.
You've got to go on the heart-lung machines. It's not very good, your odds at that point. Yeah.
No.
So,
No.
as a person of faith, I've got to ask you this. How do you feed your soul and yourself? Because Jim is right. I've been in a hospital for a year, did a residency, and I saw what respiratory therapists do in terms of putting machines on people, taking them off, and dealing with the hard subject of loss. How do you care for yourself in the midst of this? Because you're an active mom, you've got two wonderful kids, you've got a wonderful guy, Will, out here. How do you handle it?
It depends on the day,
Okay.
to be honest. Some days are harder than others. Mostly, I think the way I deal with it the best is that I am just happy to see that person suffering over.
Okay. So you can see it as something that's more of a blessing than a curse at some point, when it's that bad and when they're that hurt.
When it gets to a certain point.
So are these patients, what is their mental state like? Are they agitated, anguished? What do you see, or is that different with everybody? It's a stupid question, maybe.
Well,
Is there something that-
there's a range of,
Okay.
I would say some of them are very angry. Some of them are upset. Some of them are grieving because they've been part of a bigger group where they've lost
Right.
more people. Because of a lot of times when you find one person with COVID, it's not just that one person.
It's a
Most
whole
likely,
family of
It's a
some
whole
group.
family or a whole group.
So we've got to take this more serious because it's affecting families, groups. You see it on the front lines. I'm grateful that you could share what you do because it's really important somehow that we take this seriously. You know, we want to get so upset at the governor, and I get it, that's fine. They're used to it, but it just seems like there's got to be a balance, and this once every 100-year pandemic, what do you do? It's a hard call to make, but we've got to go to safety and protect people's lives.
Everybody just has to be safe. You have to try and do the best you can to stay fresh as far as,
Yeah,
it's hard to stay fresh when you're cooped up at home, and we get that.
and in a way, you're lucky in the sense that you get to be out with people, not in a good situation always,
No,
but you are out a lot more than most of us are.
right. You know, and we wear masks.
And so you're
yeah,
separated and,
Yeah, we wear masks every single day, through the whole entire shift. The only time that we take our masks off at work is to eat.
so
To sneak a quick drink.
have you lost any team members or hospital employees that you know to COVID? How is that affecting the staff and the people there?
I personally don't have, any like close friends or anything that have passed away, in my medical family.
Okay,
However, we have lost a couple, but not in my department.
okay. So we've been able to keep most of the people pretty safe that are treating the COVID patients.
And the people who have been getting it, they've been getting the care.
Okay,
But the important thing is if, you know, if you do have it and you start to feel sick, get a hold of a doctor, get into a hospital, get somewhere. You know, we're prepared for COVID. They expect people to come in with COVID, with symptoms.
now when we talked on the phone earlier this week, you said the number one thing people could do is get a little machine that sticks on their finger, an oximeter, is it?
Well, if you get COVID and you have it, you can buy a pulse oximeter. You can buy it through Amazon for $20. Don't go buy it at Rite Aid or any of the.
So pay a little bit more, get a quality one,
Well, no, you're gonna pay more for the same thing
okay?
at Rite Aid or something than you are, and then you don't have
Oh, I
to go
see.
out to get it anywhere. Amazon's gonna deliver it to your house.
Is that to measure
Your oxygen
In your blood.
level in your blood.
okay. 'Cause
So the people that have COVID, they go from 95, 98, 100 to suddenly down to 80 to 70 quickly. It can just happen so fast.
We wanna see your oxygen at 90 or above. And if you're below that, you really need to get in to see somebody.
And that's called a pulse oximeter or
Pulse oximeter.
pulse oximeter. If you have a problem, just call the church office and we'll point you to one. We really
Or
will.
pulse ox for short. If you just put the word pulse and then just OX in, they'll come up.
And if I'm Francis Danzeisen, I'm gonna get a hold of my grandson or my son-in-law and get him to order it for me, right?
Yep.
Much easier. Laura, thank you for sharing. I know this has been difficult and I appreciate you taking the time because it's really important that we understand how serious this is. And when I wear my mask, I'm going to start thinking of people like you and others who are on the front line.
And I thank you too. Like I said, I don't think this is really a front line person. We got a lot of people, but someone who actually deals with them on with their hands.
With their hands and so close.
I just don't know. Our prayers are going to be with the frontline people always, because this has got to be probably some of the most hardest things you're probably going to see in your life. You're going to see more probably in one day than most people, normal people will see in their lifetime. About
Yeah.
take care of you. And
Well,
thank you.
The first COVID patient that showed up in the ICU that I work in all the time. I was,
That's all right. You were caring for the person.
I was caring for the person, and I had to be in isolation for a little while.
Oh my goodness. So you had to wonder
I
if
had
you
to
have
wonder.
it. Now, are you one of these, when you go home, do you have to wash everything or change clothes immediately?
I change clothes when I come home.
Okay. Yeah, because that's the other thing. A lot of
Wash your
nurses,
hands a lot. If you have COVID, I'll tell you one of the things that really, really helps is laying on your stomach.
really?
Yep.
So laying on your stomach somehow makes it easier to breathe? That just seems like the opposite to
It
me.
makes your oxygen level
Rise.
rise.
Really? Okay, there we
Remember
go.
that tonight, because I usually lay on my side.
Well, you don't have COVID, so you're probably.
And he snores. I've been at conferences with him, he snores bad.
Sorry,
In the next room over.
have you seen any reinfection happen?
We have not.
And the other one, how about this other ones that are coming in from Africa?
These other variants.
Have you seen any of that coming in?
I have not personally, but I know that the variant is in Michigan.
Okay.
It's already in here from.
It's already in Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean, if we freeze something, we'll freeze all.
No, I don't think the freeze is on
I
changing.
know.
Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it does.
Thank you, Lord.
Laura, stay here because we're very grateful. We want to pray for you and all the healthcare workers that we know in this congregation. It's critical work that you do, and I know this hasn't been easy, so thank you for sharing. Okay? And for her Sunday school teachers, you all did a great job. Look at how she's doing so well. For that, we are grateful. Very good work.
Talking about God's work.
And to our younger people, if you ever want a job that pays well, that takes a little bit of education, but not, 8, 10 years like our doctors, respiratory therapists do really well, and I'm grateful that they do, because if you can't breathe in the hospital, nothing goes right. You're in the front line in so many ways.
Right, well, and so are the nurses. We couldn't do our job without the nurses.
Now, that's a real team person. There you go. Okay. So, Jim, who do we need to lift up and pray about?
Well, let's see, I got a call from what's that?
Dee Frechette, her son is in the hospital, and we want to be sure to remember Ron.
Let's see, the family had the funeral for the 37-year-old lady.
You had one of the most difficult funerals I think you've ever had.
I never had one like that.
And you had 100 and some people in the funeral last
I
night.
had it all spaced out, fast, and they did not just older people there, but they had, the oldest daughter was seen at Bedford, so her classmates showed up.
Your classmates,
And
brothers, or colleagues.
And the gentleman worked over here at the place that makes furniture, MT, and workers came. I mean, this is how this company must have pulled together. They let them off in shifts of 3s to go to the funeral home. So they had to pay their respect, and then all the ladies and the men took care of all the food. I have never seen so much food. I mean, I got to eat for 3 weeks. That's how much, and they took care of everything like that. And then there was so, and they came to the funeral, a lot of young people I mean, children, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
And this is a mom that had postpartum depression, and so if you have postpartum depression, get the help. And it was just so hard on her.
Very hard, and the family was very grateful. I'm glad. And that's why, like I said before, about, when you give to the church, just pay the lights and yes, pay our salary. But it pays, giving gives so much more of that. We are able to go outside the church and do,
I don't know if people realize how we try to reach out to people beyond the church and be
But
present.
that's not the food closet, I have a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot, and I really opened, because my sister, Chris, who lived out in Las Vegas, was in a relation to this, and she retired, and she was ended up being in charge of the whole section.
Wow.
And she loved it, but I mean, I don't know if being a chaplain is one thing, but I don't know if I could have to be in the room knowing that this one, I may come in tomorrow and go on, and they'll go on.
Right.
That, I'm sorry, it amazes me. You are a blessed angel.
She is a strong person of faith, and for that we can be grateful. So let us be in an attitude of prayer. Lord be with you.
Also with you.
Loving and gracious God, we're grateful for the gift of life and for the ways in which you move your Spirit within us. You're able to present the light. You're able to allow us to follow your path, not necessarily our own. Help us to meditate upon your law, O God. Let us remember the righteous, and let us seek to be the righteous, those who are following you more closely, those who desire to grow in ways that can be surprising and amazing in service to others. We're grateful for people like Dora who serve in a hospital setting and give life and make things possible that we can only imagine. We pray for all of our frontline workers that they would be cared for and that we would remember them by wearing our masks and also through our prayers, asking for your divine healing to be upon them. Bless them, O God, and give them strength to carry on as we all work through this pandemic and come out the other side soon. Gracious God, bless our leaders, bless our church, and help us continue to reach out to you. We pray this in the name of Jesus, who taught his disciples to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Before we go past the one announcement about COVID, I got my first shot from the VA.
You got your VA shot.
I got the number from somebody. There was a number you call, and this is for veterans. They're going to answer. I called on a Friday. They called me back on Sunday night, asking me the questions.
Yeah.
And I says, is it possible for me to get a shot? And they said, well, you got an 8:45 appointment Monday for diagnosis, or no, 7:30 appointment Monday for your shoulder. You got an 8:45 appointment Monday. So I had the weekend, got my next appointment set up.
Good.
No waiting.
Okay.
So, to all veterans, and we fall under the Ann Arbor system of the VA. If you're a veteran, you're registered with the VA, and you want the phone number, call me, and I will be glad to give it to you so you can get your shot. So please get your shot, and I had no side effects. Not even a sore shoulder, nothing. So I'm happy.
Well, there's the life of the righteous right there.
And if people are worried about the side effects,
Yeah.
just remember, if you get COVID, you're really going to have side effects.
So the side effects are really
And a
looked
shot
at.
away the other.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
never thought about it.
Very
Okay.
good. Mariana, what's our closing hymn tonight?
I'll close it here. I love to tell the story.
All right. peace of Jesus Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit send you forward in peace. May you go forward with a smile as you're able. And if you cannot smile, know that God cares for you, that you are loved, and you have people that want what's best for you. Go in peace, serve the Lord, do what you can, and be at peace. See you very soon. Take care, everybody, and please, for God's sake, and our Healthline workers,